What if Darth Maul trained Anakin? In The Phantom Menace, we saw the Duel of the Fates and how Maul killed Qui-Gon but was eventually sliced in half by Obi-Wan Kenobi. From there, Obi-Wan took it upon himself to train Anakin. Meanwhile, Maul was forced to spend the next decade in hiding until he eventually revealed himself once again. But what if things were different? What if Maul was the one to train Anakin instead of Obi-Wan? Well, in this alternate timeline, that's exactly what we'll be diving into, so let's get right into it. Our story begins towards the end of the nail-biting duel on Naboo. Just seconds ago, Maul had killed Qui-Gon Jinn, and as Obi-Wan stood there furious after what he just witnessed, he waited for the gates to open so he could avenge his master's death. Eventually, Obi-Wan was in luck, and as the gates opened, Maul and Obi-Wan went head-to-head with their sabers clashing back and forth. As the battle raged on, the tide turned in Maul's favor, and he was able to force push Obi-Wan into the reactor shaft. Luckily though, Obi-Wan was able to just save himself by grabbing onto the ledge. However, this is where our story is different from the original. As Maul slashed his lightsaber back and forth, Obi-Wan then closed his eyes and meditated through the Force. Then he force-pulled Qui-Gon's lightsaber, and as he leaped in the air, Maul quickly reacted. Out of nowhere, Maul had sliced Obi-Wan with his lightsaber as he did his flip, cutting the Jedi Padawan in half. As Obi-Wan's body fell to the ground, Maul then flicked his hand and used the Force to push both halves of his body down the reactor shaft. From there, he then watched his body disappear down the shaft, and as he did, he started laughing. He really had done it. Both Jedi were now defeated, and the Sith had now successfully taken their first step towards one day controlling the galaxy. However, Maul's thoughts began to race. Although he felt a thrill from killing these two Jedi, he didn't want to stop there. If he could defeat these two with these, then what was stopping him now? He realized that he wanted to keep going. He craved more power, and by that he even thought to himself that maybe he was even strong enough to overthrow his own master, Darth Sidious. However, before he could keep thinking about this, he heard a voice, almost as if it was an injured voice that was struggling to breathe. Maul looked over. It was Qui-Gon, still gasping for his final breaths. As Maul then walked over to Qui-Gon's body, he went down on one knee and said,
"You fought well, Jedi. Unfortunately, history will not see it that way, though."
Qui-Gon moaned in pain. Although he was seconds away from dying, he only had one thing and one thing on his mind only: Anakin. He had no idea what would become of him now, and all he could do was be worried for his future. Struggling to keep his eyes open, he then looked up at Maul, who was standing above him. Then he watched as the Sith Lord ignited his crimson red saber.
"Any last words, Jedi?"
Qui-Gon went silent. He closed his eyes. Before he knew it, Maul then used both hands and slashed his saber right through Qui-Gon's chest. It was over. Qui-Gon Jinn was dead. As Maul retracted his lightsaber, he pulled out his comlink and was about to report back to his master. But then he froze. For some strange reason, he felt a tremor in the Force, something that was nearby him, something powerful. Although he couldn't detect what it was, this tremor felt awfully familiar, as he felt it earlier when he was on the desert planet of Tatooine. What was this, he thought to himself, and why was it feeling even stronger than before? He wanted answers, so he quickly made his way to the main hangar, hoping to learn what this was. As he got there, all of a sudden, he saw a lone yellow N1 starfighter arrive in the palace. However, to remain undetected, Maul quickly hid behind the pillars and watched as the ship landed. The tremor he was feeling was now beyond stronger than he ever felt. Whatever it was, it must be in that ship. Then he saw a blonde boy walk out of the ship along with an R2 series droid. As he watched, he overheard the two speak, and that the droid was gonna go look off for others while the boy was gonna go look for his two Jedi friends. Maul couldn't help but laugh inside. That foolish, ignorant boy had no idea that the Jedi he was looking for were both dead. As the boy kept walking closer and closer towards where Maul was hiding, the droid was no longer in sight, and it was only the boy, all by himself. Then as the boy drew close, Maul then left his hiding spot and then stood right in front of him. As he looked at the boy right in his eyes, it finally hit him. Up until now, he had no idea what was so powerful with this kid, but now he understood. This was the boy that Sidious had spoken so much about, the one who was gifted in the Force beyond measure. Although Maul didn't know his name, he heard rumors that this boy was conceived by the Force itself. As the boy stood there, he went pale and started to shake.
No. No need to be afraid.
Where's Qui-Gon? And Obi-Wan?